Welcome back. As we look forward to the 2020-2021 collegiate year, it's clear, like this past spring, things are going to look different. The Colonial Athletics Association making a decision this week to help its members continue to deal with the pandemic, both financially and also health-wise for the student athletes and their coaches. The league adopting what it calls the, quote, extreme flexibility model to scheduling for Olympic sports. It includes men's and women's lacrosse for the 2020-2021 school year. What it means is each member institution commits to playing the minimum number of games required by the NCAA for that particular sport, but it does not require schools to play a full conference season. It instead allows schools to schedule more regional contests to save money on travel. For lacrosse, that could mean more games around Greater Baltimore for a school like Towson. Maybe no games against a conference opponent at all if they don't want to. The conference has not yet decided on how it will handle conference tournaments or how a team could clinch the league's automatic bid for an NCAA tournament. Here's CAA Commissioner Joe D'Antonio on the decision and what it means for the sport. So we're now joined by the commissioner of the Colonial Athletic Association, Joe D'Antonio. Joe, obviously so many different logistics that you guys are trying to figure out with everything going on involving the pandemic. But you come out this week with the extreme flexibility model. And I just wonder how you guys came to this conclusion and ultimately kind of what it means for all your member institutions.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And you know we appreciate the partnership between the CAA and LSN. It means a lot. So thank you.
Of course.
You know, the extreme flexibility model really grew out of two specific factors as we began to look across the conference at what the 2021 season could look like. First and foremost, I think we are hoping beyond hope that we have a 2021 season, and that's going to require the resocialization of our campuses as it relates to campus rules and guidelines and state and local regulations before we can even get into the resocialization of college athletics. But we all knew that we needed a plan to be able to resocialize college athletics in the conference as we moved into 2021. And the two things that we kept coming back to as we tried to formulate a plan were, number one, by far the most important, health and safety of the student athletes, coaches, other personnel involved in the games. And number two was cost savings and how all of our institutions have been financially impacted by the pandemic. So what the EFM does, the extreme flexibility model does, is it allows us to have a regular season for all 10 of our member institutions. Obviously, with lacrosse, we're going to add in our affiliate members in Fairfield and UMass on the men's side. It allows us to have a regular season where we don't necessarily have to play any conference games. Now, naturally, we're going to play some conference games, but the flexibility of not having to play any conference games will allow our member institutions to schedule at least the NCAA minimum. You can schedule the maximum, certainly, if you want. Schedule at least the NCAA minimum and be involved in a much more regional type regular season than you may have been if you were playing a traditional CAA regular season. And what that does is it accomplishes the two things I just mentioned. It accomplishes safety and cost savings. And just an example is we're, for the most part, keeping our student athletes out of hotels and we're keeping people out of airplanes and really trying to create that high school type mentality of playing games where you get on the bus, go to the game, get off the bus, you play the game, and get back on the bus, and you come back to campus. So we feel as though it gives us as a conference the best opportunity to have a regular season in 2021.
So I think you move on from that, and obviously the conference tournaments and that conversation is a TBD thing for all of these Olympic sports. But I wonder if there's an automatic qualifier for, say, sports like lacrosse. If not everybody's playing everybody, and you have some institutions that don't play another CAA school, how do you figure out who's going to get that AQ?
Well, and that's the next question. And we're working through those issues right now. And to be candid, we really have two specific issues that we have to unravel in the question that you just asked. The first one is, what does the format and modeling of the tournament actually look like? For instance, right now, as lacrosse fans on the men's side and the CAA know, and on the women's side as well, we take, on the women's side, we take 4 out of 7 teams normally to the tournament. On the men's side, we take 4 out of 6 teams in a normal year to the NCAA tournament. Those tournaments are seeded by the results of the regular season. They play off in the tournament, and obviously the winner gets the AQ. So the first piece we have to determine is how many of our teams actually go to the tournament. Could be the same number. It could be a greater number. Time will tell. Those are one of the things we're trying to sort out right now. And then the second decision that needs to be made is, how is the tournament seeded? Because as you've just mentioned, and as we've talked about here over the last minute or so, we're not going to have a traditional regular season where everybody is playing everybody and you go to a tiebreaker. So we're going to have to get creative in what that seeding mechanism looks like.
So obviously, this is especially the flexibility for fall scheduling is probably the most important. We look ahead to the spring of 2021, and obviously it's a little ways away, but maybe not as far as we think with everything going on surrounding the pandemic. Is there a chance that, depending on how things work out in the first semester and how comfortable coaches and institutions are, that we do have a situation where all the CAA men's and women's lacrosse schools can play a full season and it goes on as planned? Or is this just kind of like, this is how teams and schools are going to move on?
Another really good question, we had a big debate about this as it relates to the fall and the spring. And what I will say to the viewers is, we ultimately came down on the fact that this season is just going to be different. Everybody needs to mentally come to grips with the fact that 2021 is not going to be the same as it normally is. And as a result of that, we've implemented the EFM across the board for all Olympic team sports in both the fall and the spring. So obviously the lacrosse would get captured in that. And that was really, again, wanting to maximize the health and safety scenarios and also wanting to maximize cost savings across the board in these sports.
You guys are really, as far as I've seen, one of the first conferences to come out and kind of initiate this type of scheduling. And when you look across college athletics, especially in Olympic sports, with how many are being cut, I wonder how much of this is the importance of making sure for all your member institutions, you allow them to preserve the number of Olympic sports they have and the opportunities for those student athletes.
Well, it's a shame. It's a shame that you're reading the articles around the country associated with opportunities and programs being cut. When I worked at Providence College in the beginning of my career, I unfortunately had to live through some of that. And it is not a fun experience for any of the folks, student athletes, coaches, or administrators that are involved. So we are very hopeful that within our conference, that what we've done in terms of trying to be very innovative in looking at ways in which we can save resources to hopefully allow our student athletes to have an opportunity. I'm not going to say it's a perfect opportunity by any stretch, but to have an opportunity to compete in 2021, have an opportunity to compete for the AQ opportunity in the NCAA, and also ensure that their sport remains part of the culture of their institution as we go forward. We're optimistic that this plan that we've put in place allows for those scenarios to continue to occur.
Oh, Joe, we can't wait to see you guys hopefully back on playing fields across the CAA sometime in the very near future. Good luck with everything that you have going on, and we thank you so much for the time.
I appreciate it as well, and we're hoping for the same thing. We're looking to get back on those courts and fields in a safe way as soon as we can.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.